Good evening, Canterbury. Welcome to Newsmakers, where we debate the issues that defined the week. It's a pleasure to introduce the panel, a Regional Councillor and the incumbent Deputy Chair of ECan, Kane, Community Board Member Jamie Gough, and Newstalk ZB's morning host Ellie Jones. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to begin with Environment Canterbury and the earthquake that has ruptured the council leadership. Is this a divided, dysfunctional council? And can Sir Kerry Burke survive the aftershocks? Joe, as his deputy, you supported the bid to get the no confidence motion on next month's agenda. In fact, it could be argued your vote was the clincher for this. Why did you do it?
Because it's about leadership, about relationships, and it's about our community. And there are some very strong messages from our community that ECan is not showing good leadership in a number of fronts. It wasn't an easy decision. I have worked with Sir Kerry. My vote is there to try and move things on to address some of the compelling issues that are surrounding the governance level of Environment Canterbury. And I believe if we get that governance correct, then we will be the organisation that we deserve.
Did Sir Kerry feel betrayed by your vote?
I'm sure he did.
So he didn't know in advance?
He would have known on Monday that nobody could rely on my vote.
Have you lost confidence in his leadership?
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't believe it is leadership. I believe that Kerry and Alec are both stuck in that old parliamentary style of governance, and they try to run it like that. This is local government. It's very different. It's very inclusive. You work with your community, and you do not divide and conquer your table. It seems to be about capturing the vote, and if you don't capture the vote and caucus it, then you're lost in the table. And I felt quite isolated from a while because I vote on issue by issue, and that's not accepted at a table that is very, very divided, and divided on political lines.
Do you believe Sir Kerry is history as chair of ECan?
It's going to take a mammoth effort in this next month for him to survive the leadership, I believe.
Councillor Evans was quoted in the press on Friday saying that ECan needs a new leader to heal the rifts. Could you be it?
I'd like to. I believe I could straddle the sphere of the table, but I don't think the numbers are there for me. So I'll have to really think about really hard the direction that Environment Canterbury needs to go, and that's the difficulty. It is a split table, blue, red, and the true independent at that table is myself, and I straddle it all the time. So there's going to be a lot of soul searching in this last week. I can't tell you today who I would put my support behind, but I'll be thinking about it.
So just to recap, you would put yourself forward?
Absolutely.
All right, and you envisage that following the demise of Sir Kerry, if that's what happens, will the vote for a new chair and deputy occur on the same day? The
deputy's not up for grabs, but I've put it there because I feel that as Sir Kerry's deputy, that some of the baggage that has come in and some of the issues, that I have to wear it as well, and that I'm quite happy to offer that up to the councillors so that it can be quite if there's a change, then it can be a complete change at the top.
Okay. I'll throw this over to the wider panel. What do you think? Is this a selfless decision made by Joe to essentially sacrifice the deputy chairpersonship of ECan, or is it a strategic ploy, do you think, Ellie, to get the top job?
Strategic, absolutely strategic, and I don't blame Joe for that at all. You don't survive in the sort of position and in the job that Joe is in, or as a council, unless you look at things as a strategy, and you have to look at it, in a much wider context, and that's exactly what Joe is doing. And I applaud her for that. I'm interested in the way she's going about it, but I will watch it with interest. I totally agree with her. I don't think there's any coincidence, though, that this is happening perhaps at a time when we have huge changes afoot in local government with what we've got happening in Auckland as well. And I think in the next couple of years particularly, we're going to see some really interesting changes, moves from people on Environment Canterbury or in Environment Canterbury and the local council, perhaps with a move to a greater Canterbury Council, which I think could happen.
All right. Jamie, what do you think's wrong with ECan? Why is it so divided?
Well, you've also got to remember, first of all, you wouldn't want to be Sir Kerry Burke right now. I wouldn't want to. I think you can't lose sight of the fact that it was the board that actually put their faith in Sir Kerry Burke at the start. They're the people that voted him in there as their chair. But in saying that, they also have the right to oust him if they don't have confidence there. I think the other thing that you need to remember, though, is that a chairperson isn't necessarily a dictator of a board. they're a facilitator. So I think at the end of the day, the whole board's got to take responsibility if it's becoming ECan't.
Joe,
I like it.
Can I get a comment from you as to why some councillors seem to have lost so much confidence? Take, for example, the likes of Bronwyn Murray. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she voted for Sakiri as chair, but has now jumped ship and joined this very rebellious little affair. Why?
It is about relationships, and any leader has to actually look at each of the individuals that are on the table and actually adjust to how you communicate with them. And that's not one of Sakiri's strengths. He is not a great communicator at that table. You either vote with him or you're out. And that's what's happened at the table. Now, Bronwyn has needs. She has a very colourful personality, and she needs information. And she needs to have that contact all the time. And Sakiri doesn't do that. So that has no fury like a woman.
Since we've had a bit of an exclusive from you on this show tonight, let me throw one more question at you. If you weren't to be the next chair of ECan, who should be?
Don't know the answer to that today.
Who would you desire as a deputy?
Who would I desire as a deputy? I think that I would take a new up-and-coming councillor, because that's part of the problem at the table. It is the old guard, the Neils, the Oldfields, the Mackays, the Burkes, the Kirk. There's a new broom at the table and coming through with some really good stuff. So if you look at the things that we're not doing well at, it is the portfolio chairs of those, Neil, Oldfield, Mackay, Burke, that are under trouble in those areas of water and resource consents. I think it's time for a complete fresh approach.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being so sharing with us. We'll have a look at other issues with the wider panel. They're feeling a bit left out.
Yeah,
we'll be back very shortly.